All right, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another Monday Night Chill Stream. It is Monday, February 27th, 2023. It is approximately 21:30 hours. 21:30 hours. You're going to use super cool military time. And what are we going to do? We're going to do a chill stream. There's a lot of fast moving developments going on, and I'm wondering what's happening. So there's a bunch of stuff that things seem oddly coordinated even on this show, and I'm wondering this seeming synchronicity as is it my mind playing tricks on me or what? So what am I talking about? I've mentioned this sports ball guy before, and he doesn't like Bitcoin, right? So he's like, the government hasn't backed it up, blah 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 blah. And he messaged me like a little while ago. He might do it to the show. He's like, I tried to get my Bitcoin from the Gemini exchange, but they won't give it to me. Like, what? I was like, last week you like hated Bitcoin. This week you're saying the exchange won't give you your Bitcoin. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on, but apparently he needs money fast and he's turned to Bitcoin. So I think what he's done is he's made, he like won money gambling, like, I don't know, Super Bowl or something. I know he won money on the Super Bowl. And he needs that money fast. He needs fast cash. And strangely, he's turned to Bitcoin and instead of waiting for a check or whatever. And I'm like, he doesn't really understand how it works. I'm like, dude, I could send it directly to you. Just set up a wallet on your phone and send me, your receive key, and I'll send like $5. Like, it's meant to go person to person in minutes. It's not meant to go to an exchange. And he's like, I don't know. I don't understand any of this. I'm a sports guy. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure out of desperation why you dived into something you don't know anything about, but okay. But he needs to get his money quickly from, I don't know, maybe it's like, maybe one of these, maybe he has inside information that like one of these online sports books is about to go bust. Like the entire, things have been, last weekend it was the worst week in the fucking stock market history. I know I got fucking slaughtered. I'm basically at the sidelines now. I lost 70% of what I had put in, like 70, not 17, 70. So I said, all right, enough's enough. This is not coming back. And I don't understand really what's going on. I'm trying to figure it out. Like the end of last year, I was like, okay, they're going to crash this whole thing and then bring in something else. But they're not ready with that yet. And then I'm sitting here scratching my head. I'm like, why is the market crashing this bad? You know what I mean? Like this, like all this panic. And I thought about it. I'm thinking about the debt limit, right? If the Congress doesn't raise the debt limit, the United States government will default on its obligations perhaps as early as June. So March is about to start in a day. So you're like, okay, we're 90 days away from default and there's no urgency to get this done like this. And this is creating panic in the markets because people are like, well, what's going to happen? They want that certainty, that assurance from the federal government that everything's going to go as it always has gone. And, they're not getting that. And that's causing people to panic. So you see the market skyrockets one day and then crashes the next, and then skyrockets and crashes. And people with big money can get in and out because they're the ones driving it. They can make, but everyone else is like, what the fuck is happening? My life is going up in smoke in front of me. And I was wondering why they would do this. I'm trying to think, why the fuck would they do this? But, the title of tonight's show, On Planet Gulag, Your Home, I started thinking about the Gulag and slave labor and debt slavery. And I thought, okay, the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal and has no reserves, is a private bank that loans money to the U.S. government and charges the U.S. government interest on the money it loans them. And it makes that money out of thin air. But every year, so they want federal representatives, congressmen, senators, etc., who spend more than we take in, right? That's all this deficit spending. We're spending 4.5 trillion a year, but we only 4.5 billion a year, but we only take in 3.5 billion in taxes. So we're spending like whatever a trillion more than we're billions or trillions more than we can possibly pay for right now. So we're just paying off the debt. We're not actually paying the debt down, right? This is the government. And if you're the Federal Reserve Bank, you want this to continue. But every now and then you come up against the debt limit. You hit the debt limit, and then Congress is going to fight and argue and pretend to do shit until they raise the debt limit. The debt limit has been raised every year, every time it's come up since 1971. So it's not like it is, this is not a rare thing. This is not an unusual thing. It's, as regular as whatever, as robins in the springtime. So, and I'm like, why are they not doing the debt deal and stabilizing the market? And which part of it was like, because I lost money. I'm like, hey, why aren't you doing your job? But then I thought about it. I was like, okay, why would they? Why would they deliberately rattle the markets? And the answer is they rattle the market, and that scares everybody. That the economy is going to crash, and they may crash it in the summertime. They may crash it in the next few months, like really super bad crash. And this will cause people to panic, so that when November comes and it's time to have the elections, both sides, either Joe Biden will be blaming the Republicans or whatever for crashing the economy. The Republicans are talking about still the stupid shit from the 1980s. Oh, we're going to cut Social Security. We're going to cut Medicare. They're not going to cut NASA, right? They're not going to cut NASA, which is a hoax. They're not going to cut the Pentagon, which is the biggest hoax. They're going to cut grandma's Social Security check, right? They're going to cut fucking Medicaid. It's like who wrote this script? And I'm like, okay, why would they do that? And then it occurred to me that the reason why they do that is so the American public will scream to stop this debt limit fight forever. It's just let the federal government spend as much as it wants, and we'll just make it up next year. And I thought, yeah, that would make sense to them. If you want the entire planet and everyone living on it to be your debt slave, right? The way you would do that is not, the best way to do that, the most ideal way to do that would be to make them beg for it. Make them beg for it themselves. So if the economy, which is the stock market, which is not really the economy, but if the economy crashes over the summer and it's terrible, super bad, terrible, right, along with the layoffs and all the rest, and with the inflation, people will be screaming at the White House and Congress, give us more money, print more, and they'll go to the Treasury Department and say, print more money. They'll say, well, we can't because you didn't do the debt deal. And they're like, okay, we'll do who knows what the fuck they'll call it, the Financial Freedom Act of 2023, where they will eliminate this debt ceiling, and the federal government will never have to ask permission to borrow money ever again. They can borrow as much as they want, whenever they want, and this will fucking, of course, open the floodgates. People will be temporarily happy because why? Because what's the Fed going to do? The Fed is going to flood the system with money. Oh, everyone and poor people who are not smart and don't understand economics are going to think, wow, this is great. We're all going, think we'll get rich now. We'll get out of the hole. We'll get out of debt. We'll get out of whatever. But it will only make it worse. So perhaps, and it's just a theory I have. It's not, I'm just based off my own conspiratorial mindedness. Perhaps the Fed is rattling the markets and looking to quote unquote crash the economy to cause a political reaction, a backlash, where the American public begs to be put deeper into debt slavery. But they scream for it. They scream at Congress, and the Republicans are evil and they want to starve grandma. And we just got to be able to spend as much as they could possibly print. I could see that as being a realistic motivation for them to do this, because there's no reason why they wouldn't want to calm the markets after all that they're doing. Like they're pulling every lever and twisted every switch, and then all of a sudden, there's no urgency, none whatsoever for the coming default of the federal government in June, which is like 91 days away. So I'm thinking that doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? Biden's not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. They're all mumbling stupid shit. And I'm like, yeah, this is because the script may be create an artificial crash, make people scream for more money and no more legal limit on how much debt the federal government can go into. And if there's no limit to the federal debt, there's no limit to how much they can tax you either. So that kind of solves a couple of problems. Solves problems for a couple of different groups, right? But we'll see. I don't know for sure that's what's going on, but that is definitely that's sort of in my thinking. So where are we? We're 12 minutes in. 12 minutes in. We've got so much stuff. We have so much stuff. In terms of the government, right? I've mentioned that the government is not ready with their CBDCs, their central bank digital currencies. They don't have anything to compete with Bitcoin. They don't. Okay. I said this, they're years away, and they are years away. Got a quick 56-second clip on how our friends across the pond are doing with their CBDC, and I got some thoughts on this.
You are not going to believe what I found on the website for the digital pound on the Bank of England's official website, like the official website. It basically shows that the people in charge of this project know nothing about Bitcoin, or they're purposely spreading misinformation. So this is the official website, guys. So you scroll down to the frequently asked questions section and you say, how's this different from any other cryptocurrency? You may have heard of crypto assets such as Bitcoin and Ether. These are issued privately, whereas the digital pound would be issued and backed by the Bank of England. To the Bank of England, if you are watching, Bitcoin is not issued privately. Bitcoin is mined using computers doing complicated mathematics, and they are rewarded in Bitcoin for their effort, not run by any company. Maybe get your facts straight while you're trying to make money that's somehow better than Bitcoin. And let's make no mistake, CBDCs are here to control you, while Bitcoin is freedom money.
Is freedom money. I don't it seems to cut off before the video's done. She finishes with saying Bitcoin is freedom money. So they're not ready. And if you look at that and you go, well, are they, like she says, are they just idiots, or are they spreading misinformation? I would say, why not both? You know what I mean? Why not both? Why, they're idiots and they're spreading misinformation at the same time. You know what I mean? Two for the price of one. So that's, they aren't ready. They don't have their shit together. And this is to the advantage of anyone who buys and holds Bitcoin. That's very much to their advantage. But what are we doing? We are winning we're winning in a lot of different ways. Let's go. This is what winning looks like, by the way. This is what winning looks like around the world. Let's go way across the ocean to our friends, the Italian boys in Italy.
Italian students are revolutionizing the educational system by teaching high school students about Bitcoin. So BitPolito is a group of students from Politecnico di Torino University in Italy. They decided to launch a program. It's called Bit Generation. And hear this. This program will bring Bitcoin education to all the high schools in Italy. So they'll have a 300-hour course called Pathways for Transversal Skills and Orientation, and 30 lucky students will attend 10 3-hour course meetings that will cover various aspects of Bitcoin, from financial inclusion and economics to computer science and game theory. Obviously, the lessons will include like basic knowledge, like how to use Bitcoin, and they'll even have notable speakers from the Bitcoin sphere in Italy. Don't worry, you can even watch all their courses online for free in their YouTube.
So that's what winning looks like. The thing me and the Bitcoin people talk about, the thing that we work on, the thing that we evangelize people about, is what actually works. Okay, this is what works. It's legal everywhere. right? And it's spreading through the cracks of the global Gulag system, right? Even in the Gulag, they don't have 100% control. There's dark corners and little alleyways and little, passageways where Bitcoin kind of snakes through, and they can't really stop it. So that Italian high school students are getting a course in Bitcoin is really interesting. Now, I don't even know how many Italian high school students there are, but there's 60 million Italians, right? 60 million Italians. 1/3 are too old. 1/3 is maybe it might be 20 million kids. Might be like, no way, that wouldn't be, that would be all of the kids, all of the ones under 21. So it would be maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 million kids perhaps. But this is what winning looks like. This is what your agenda advancing looks like. The difference between me and you is you're a white communist homosexual who's waiting for Adolf Hitler to save you from the Jews and the Negroes. And, if you think to yourself, if I could just get the ear of the American public, if I could just get on CNN or, Fox News or something, and I could just explain that Hitler was the good guy in World War II, your grandfather or whether your father or your grandfather, whoever fought in World War II, if only I could explain that your grandfather was the bad guy, then you would instantly come around to my way of thinking. And then this would somehow, question mark, set up the conditions for, I guess there's maybe, Hitler to get reincarnated, or maybe there's a bunch of hidden Hitlers somewhere that are all going to spring up and be a super right-wing authoritarian and make all your retarded dreams come true. Which none of that's going to happen, because like I said, you're a stupid white homosexual communist who's literally praying for Hitler to be reincarnated. I think that's an unlikely scenario. It's much more likely that Bitcoin replaces the US dollar as the global reserve currency and destroys the Gulag planet that we're living on than whatever it is you think is going on. Oh, look, we have a comment. We have a viewer. We have a comment. Who's in the comments? Virgil Doc, Purple Heart. Welcome to the show, sir. So yeah, that's what winning looks like overseas. We're also winning here at home. Let's go with how we're winning at home.
Montana's state senate just passed a bill that would protect Bitcoin mining. The proposed law would enshrine a right to mine digital assets and would prohibit discriminatory electric rates being charged to Bitcoin miners, protect mining that occurs at home, and strip local governments of the power to use zoning laws to stop Bitcoin mining operations. It also prohibits additional taxes on the use of Bitcoin as a payment method and would consider digital assets, including cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, as personal property. I think this is like really positive step to giving people some guidelines and pushing forward more Bitcoin adoption. And if you want to learn about everything Bitcoin, come out to the conference this year. It's going to be in Miami in May 18th through the 20th. Use promo code Satoshi to get 10% off your ticket.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't go to the Bitcoin Miami conference. I wouldn't go to any of those conferences because it's basically a doxing festival. And I guarantee you that there will be federal agents taking pictures of everybody who goes into and out of those conference halls. But so Montana, have they passed the law? No, it's a proposed law. It's only in the Senate. They'll do whatever. But the point of my saying that we're winning, okay, our ideas are advancing legally and openly everywhere, and yours are not. There's reasons why this is, but primarily is because we're grounded in reality and you're grounded in delusion. So you need to fully I don't know, let that sink in. Let that sink in. You're a delusional person with no fucking plan and nothing that fucking works. And the opportunity you have now to trade your green US dollar slavery coupons for Bitcoin, you are squandering, okay? You're squandering every opportunity. And when you finally pull your thumb out of your ass and decide to do this, the exchange rate is going to be far less favorable than it is currently, which is in the low 20s, 23-ish, 23K per Bitcoin. So, and I'm watching people jump in and out. So I guess my guess is that the hobo, whatever, the feds are jumping in and out here. But speaking of the feds, not all feds are evil. Okay, yes, they are all evil. But even an evil organization like the U.S. federal government can, in fact, serve our purposes. I'm going to do another quickie 56-second video, little news update on everyone's favorite MIT grad, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam Bankman-Fried drama continues. He has now been charged with 4 new criminal counts, which include conspiracy to commit wire fraud, operating an unlicensed money transmitter, unlawful political contributions, and defrauding the Federal Election Commission. That is on top of the 8 counts he pled not guilty to. SBF used billions of dollars in customer funds to invest in risky ventures and try to influence cryptocurrency regulation in DC. He wanted to get on the good side of both Dems and Republicans, so he made some not-so-legal political contributions. And get this, he tried to keep those contributions dark by using co-conspirators as straw donors. Plus, SBF was already in hot water last week when a federal judge threatened to revoke his bail. Why, you ask? Because he kept using encrypted apps, potentially trying to influence witnesses. The fact that SBF is just chilling at his parents' house right now is upsetting to me, honestly. His October trial date cannot come soon enough, and we're going to be covering it all here, so follow along with Bitcoin Magazine.
So, Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy who scammed $10 billion from Wall Street investors, a tribe member, and the most elite of the elite. He's currently, like they said, he's living in a mansion in Palo Alto or something like that, where Stanford is. But they've added new charges to the existing indictment, and they've said we're going to add more charges in the future. So the first 8 charges he was facing held a maximum potential sentence of 115 years, 115. With the addition of these 4 new charges, which I think are the ones that you know where you're going to be able to get out of, the political contribution violating federal election law, that's like the meat of this, in my opinion, because if it wasn't for the political contributions, the illegal political contributions, this would be like a non-story. This would be like literally a non-story, and everyone who got rug pulled by SBF would just be SOL, shit out of luck, and then no one would care. But even what he did was so egregious that you got to put him in jail. Now you got to remember that Bernie Madoff conned like literally entire countries. Just talking about Italy, the Italian national pension fund invested with Bernie Madoff. Believe it or not, like European royalty, all these people gave Bernie Madoff like 150 billion, way more money than Sam Bankman-Fried has stolen. But Madoff didn't make any illegal political contributions, although he would threaten. I was talking to the again sportsbook guy who used to be a Wall Streeter, said that it is insider info that when the Securities and Exchange Commission questioned him on his results, which apparently they did, or anyone questioned him, he claimed proprietary technology, like a secret algorithm. This was in the 90s before anyone knew what an algorithm was. Nobody on Wall Street could spell algorithm. And he would threaten, he would threaten the regulators. You know what I mean? I don't know what he would threaten them with, but yeah, pretty interesting. You cannot taper a Ponzi scheme, and that's what I think is happening with this debt limit deal. The idea that if America doesn't do this debt limit deal and the federal government defaults on its obligations in June, this would be a huge crisis. Would plunge the entire world into a global economic nightmare if America is not good for its promises in paper. That would be spectacularly bad. Would they do that? Sure, I think they would. because it would make everyone in America go crazy. And again, beg to keep the money printer going 24/7, 365. And if you think they can't do that, listen, they did COVID. You know what I mean? They got everyone to run around pretending that a fucking stupid paper mask is going to save them from a pandemic worse than the fucking Black Plague. You know what I mean? The worst pandemic in human history. It's total bullshit. It was the flu, and that's that. It was the flu. But they had ways of controlling the entire planet through economics. To make you comply with COVID regulations. They have that level of control. And so if what they want to do is plunge America into an ocean of debt that you will never get out of, is that what they're going to do? Will they crash the economy like a super crash, terrify everybody because it's already nervous, right? Oh my God, we just got over COVID and now the economy's going to crash. The stock market's all wonky, wobbly. Maybe yes, maybe no. The reason why Bitcoin's going to win and you're not going to win. I'm going to show you a video. This is a 6 minute, 21 second video, but I don't want to do the whole 6 minutes and 21 seconds. I'm just going to do like 3 minutes ish. Guy's name is Preston Sysh. It's Pysh, whatever. He was like a finance guy. He's definitely an upper middle income guy. You know what I mean? He's not living in a 1-bedroom apartment. You'll see. He's not living in a 1-bedroom apartment. But listen to Preston. Listen to Preston talk about the situation a lot of Americans find themselves in.
I think you got to start with terminology, right? The word recession, right? I would argue there are tons of people, percentage-wise, I don't know what the percent would be, but it's a very high percentage in the United States right now that would tell you, I'm working 2 jobs, my wife's working a job, we only net an additional $100 with her working after we put the kids in childcare or whatever. So how do you define recession? How do you define just sheer economic pain for the common person who's just trying to stay alive, that's been working for 30 years of their life and they only have 40% paid off on their house? It doesn't make any sense. You could go out into the woods for 30 years and cut down trees and you have a damn mansion if you made it by yourself, right? So like, people aren't asking themselves like these really simple, basic, core ideas of, if I work my tail off and I have nothing to show, I'm a debt slave. I'm a debt slave. And it's a function of this highly like manipulated system of how they're controlling the money, how they're inserting the money, how they're controlling interest rates. And because people aren't taught any of this stuff in school, they don't know any better. They just think it's normal because they've been dealing with it. They've been dealing with the slow grind decline in their ability to afford anything their whole lives. And so it's wore them out. They don't even understand where they're at. So like, how would we even define recession when we're dealing with this juggernaut of reality that the common person is dealing with on a daily basis? Are we measuring it based off of this?
Okay, so I'll cut it there. But so you see that Preston speaks an entirely different language, right? In the sense that he says people don't understand what's going on. Their lifestyle is declining. You know, he uses the term debt slavery. Take a look at that guy. He's not wearing a radical T-shirt like I wear and fucking, he's a very well educated, never sick a day in his life, doesn't even know what the bad part of town is. But there is no bad part of the towns he's ever lived in. You know what I mean? There's the ghetto. That's something that's as far away as Mars. And all these sort of things. But he understands that that the living standard of, like he said, how many Americans are working? Man's working 2 jobs, wife's working a job. You know what I mean? And they're still barely keeping their head above water. You know what I mean? Barely keeping clothes on their kids' back. That message, the message of we can fix this, right, is the Bitcoiners message. That's not the political message. The political message is going to be, it's a Republican's fault, it's a Democrat's fault, it's a this one, it's Trump, it's all bullshit. Like, it's all bullshit, because the money printer rules every motherfucking thing. The money printer rules everything. To pretend otherwise is to be divorced from reality. And I got a couple of fun divorce from reality videos. That it's weird the synchronicity sometimes that happens on the show. I was looking at just some stupid YouTube stuff, and I saw this thing, and I'm like, oh, it's so retarded, and I just have to save it on my phone. It's like a 30-second video or something like that. And I'll show you in a moment. But people who what they're doing is obvious, and easily overcome, but they they want to pretend it's something magical and fucking invulnerable, and it's not. So this was I was in the supermarket. I went to the supermarket. I had to buy some food, of course, and I happened to see the New York Times, and I made it. This is a quick 16-second video. I made it myself. This is a STFU James original production. But I just saw the headline of the fucking newspaper, and I'm like, oh God. Like, there's nothing I could say as crazy as it. Like, I could say the most outrageous fucking thing, and there's no way it can top the comic book ridiculous fucking nature of what the mainstream media puts out. Once you learn to see how insane and twisted and how like impossible, you think who wrote this? Like, who fucking wrote this? And you're like, did they get a paycheck for it? And how can I get that job? Like, why can't I get that job? Because I could think, me personally, I could think of stupid shit all day to fill the headlines in. This one, this was, I just laughed out loud, and people looked at me like I'm the crazy one. But where do you see the video? Like I said, it's 16 seconds.
Here's the New York Times headline: Kung Fu nuns crack gender barrier in Nepal. So this is what's going to free Nepal from the grip of China. A group of female ninjas.
A group of female Shaolin monks or something like that practicing Kung Fu on a rooftop somewhere in Nepal. Now, I know Nepal isn't really Tibet, but they're right next to each other. It's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But I don't know who at the CIA decided we're going to scare the Chinese by telling them that the Shaolin monks are training women to karate chop them in the middle of the night or something like that. And we'll put them all in black pajamas on a rooftop with the mountains in the background. And female Shaolin monks. Like, this is, remember from the 70s, if you're old, if you're a boomer, but they brought it back in the 90s. They did the TV series Kung Fu with David Carradine. It was supposed to be Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee ended up dying. So they put David Carradine as the half Chinese guy who would walk through the Old West with a big hat, and and he would always go to town, and somebody would like, "Hey, Chinaman, hey, you dirty Chinaman, get out of the way of my horse." And then, of course, he would have to. Everything was slow motion. He would slow motion beat them up, and then. But he was trained in the Shaolin Temple in China. And there was a blind guy who was his instructor. How do you learn to fight from a blind guy? Explain this to me. How do you learn to fight from a blind guy? That I don't get. But as an old man, Master Po, he had a little white mustache and a little beard, and he was in a yellow robe. And his eyes, they would light up his eyes real weird to remind you that he was blind. And then you'd see David Carradine would be... he'd be like the young kid who just got in the monastery when he was 12. And then when he left, it was like 18 or something. But in order to leave the monastery, there was a giant cauldron. There was a giant cauldron full of like red hot coals, right? So it's a big iron cauldron. And on one side of the cauldron was a dragon. And then the other side was like a tiger or something like that was in the metal. So, and you had to pick the thing up with your, like between your forearms and move it, while your flesh was burning. And that was, you had to do that in order to get out of the Shaolin, temple. But this was, this was TV in the 70s. People believed that you could kung fu your way into out of violent situations. I assure you, you cannot kung fu your way out of any of that shit. Like, all of that is complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But people believe in it to no end. There's people who cannot cope with their external reality, so they go into this dream world. There are people who attempt to get over on this. Apparently, the people at CIA have come up with female Shaolin pajama-wearing assassins on a rooftop in Nepal, which are going to, I don't know, they're going to send them under cover of night to whatever, do something to the Chinese troops. It's the most, that is like, who dreamt that shit up, right? Okay. The thing is, I saw a video on YouTube. There was actually a guy some years ago who claimed to be a Shaolin monk. He was just a Chinese guy on steroids. And he would go into these MMA matches. So there was like this Shaolin monk. A Shaolin monk is going to do MMA, and he's bald. I'll show you the video in a minute. And he would do this thing where he would tuck his chin, like really, really tuck his chin into his chest. And he would let guys just wail away, hitting, and they would whack, 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 and they'd punch him up, whatever, 30 times, and he wouldn't get knocked out. And there are videos like this on YouTube showing the Shaolin monk guy. They have like 10 million views. 10 million views of this guy standing in the middle of the ring, arms down. He tucks his chin like this, and he lets the other fighter punch him, whatever, 20 times, and he doesn't get knocked out. And you think, wow, that's some fucking Shaolin Kung Fu power. First off, that's not Shaolin Kung Fu power. Tucking your chin to keep yourself from getting knocked out is literally the oldest instruction in boxing. Like, boxers have been doing this since God knows fucking when, like literally thousands of years. When you force your chin into your chest, it limits how much your head can shake. So you get hit, right? You get punched, and your head doesn't whip back and forth. And that's how you avoid getting knocked out, because you get knocked out because your brain inside your skull, right, sloshes around in the fluid in there, sloshes around too quickly, and the body gets scared and goes, "Uh-oh, we better shut off because we're in trouble. Something's shaking the head really bad." So that's why you get knocked out. Okay, it's striking the face and shaking the brain hard enough to cause basically an electrical short circuit. The body goes, "I'm out of here. We can't survive much more of this punch." Anyway, Shaolin monk guy, like I said, there's videos of him doing this chin tuck technique, getting hit 25 times, and you look in the comments, and all these dopey fucking retards believe this is true. It's as ridiculous as the female Shaolin monk's gonna liberate Tibet from China. But here's the reality. Here's the reality of what happens when your Shaolin bullshit meets someone who really knows how to fight.
他的打法呢，技术比较全面，你看拳腿、组合都有。现在武僧一龙这又是犯了一个低级的错误，你怎么能这样让对方打你呢？武僧一龙重重的躺下了，又犯了一个巨大的错误。你抗击打能力再强，你怎么能犯这种低级错误？
So there you have it. You can believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. You're doing something that, you know what, some people can't quite figure out. Like, somebody couldn't figure out, hit it with an uppercut first, put his chin in the air, and then boom, boom, 1-2, and it's fucking over, right? This is the off switch for the human brain in combat sports, especially if you hit it at an angle. So all the other guys were hitting him on the side of the head, and they didn't just, simple thing, one uppercut, bring his chin up in the air, bang, bang, and it's fucking over, So that's reality. And reality is going to, as you sit there with whatever you think is your fucking magical protection, which trust me, you just haven't had anyone fucking who knows what they're doing come after you, right? And the CIA, I don't know, I think they hired all those dopey women and gave them black pajamas and made them dance around on the rooftop. For all we know, they're actually going to give them guns and send them into fucking Tibet to get slaughtered. But we live in a world where you go, okay, it's some dopey 14-year-old kid on YouTube who believes that there's a Shaolin monk thing, you know. But there's a lot more people that are 41 years old that believe that the New York Times headlines that somehow spontaneously the empty hand technique of this fucking fictional the whatever is going to fucking overthrow Chinese communism. You know, I don't know if it can knock those Chinese spy balloons out of the sky or not, but that's how fucking ridiculous it is. That's how, when I say there's nothing I could say that's crazier than what's in the fucking news, I'm not kidding. I walk in stores and I see the newspapers and I think, Jesus Christ, am I high on drugs? Am I out of my mind? Am I dreaming? That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. So yeah, so that's about where we're at, right? And then what else? Yeah, I think I covered everything. Yeah, I think pretty much covered everything. Where we're coming up at 43 minutes. 43 minutes into the show, but you live on a planet run by the architects of the Gulag system. And as I learned relatively recently, under external pressure, Western pressure, the Gulag masters, instead of using pure slave labor, you know, would pay the workers in the camps, you know, whatever, 150 rubles a week, you know, to chop wood or do whatever they were doing. The problem is you needed 200 rubles a week to survive, to eat. You know what I mean? So you never had enough. You could only afford food every other day. Those people are now in charge of the global economy, and there is no government that can stop them. There's nothing that can stop them other than Bitcoin. It's not a group of Shaolin monks, female Shaolin monks. It's not the ghost of Adolf Hitler. It's not whatever you think it is. What it is an economic system that they do not control and they cannot stop. It's already here. It already works. You're sitting on the sidelines waiting for permission. I personally find it repugnant to want to wait for permission from the very federal parasites who made everything they taught me in school a lie, right? So I'm not waiting for permission, right? I'm just not. So I'm doing what I'm going to do, which I believe is going to have a positive outcome, because even the people who don't say the things I say, guys like the Preston Seich guy and all these other things, the people sponsoring the Montana legislation, the Italian bit generation people, our ideas are winning and moving forward around the world, and yours are not. And you know, it's not that there's a massive conspiracy holding you back. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. But if someone says to you, hey, listen, you've worked 30 years of your life and you've got nothing. You know, your house is still underwater. Your house is still underwater. You can't afford to feed your own kids, right? You say that to America, and America is going to listen. Now, they're not going to let you say that, right? They're not going to give you a platform to say that. But what we can say, what is allowable to say, is that Bitcoin is saving, and you can, you know, here's how you can dollar cost average into Bitcoin and avoid inflation, and let inflation be some random boogeyman, right? We don't have to explain that it comes from a private bank. We don't have to explain who owns the private bank. We don't have to explain any of that, because nobody wants to hear that shit anyway. They just look at and go, okay, what's going to save me? What's going to save my level of material wealth? What's going to save my lifestyle? That's what people are interested in, and that's what they'll listen to. They're not going to listen to the fact that their grandfather was the bad guy in World War II. They're not listening to that. You know, Pop killed, you know, the Japanese in the Pacific, and he was a fucking hero. You say something mean about my grandfather, I'm going to punch you in the nose. That's what you're going to get. But if you tell these guys you work exponentially harder for less and less and less, and your children will have less than you have, and your grandchildren will have less than they have, and we need to change this now, that you have a chance of grabbing something. That has a chance of working, okay? To be honest, I think most people are still going to ignore it because, like you, they're waiting for official government blessing or something, or some sort of guarantee, which there are no guarantees in life other than shit's about to get worse, because the money printer ain't gonna fucking stop. It is not going to stop. Whether or not, whether or not the money printer, whatever, like, where's the girl? Where's the one, the dancing girl one? I like that one better. The Japanese music. It fits with the Shaolin monk theme. Okay, let's go. Let's take a 47-second break. And you think that's a stupid cartoon. I remember when the first time I saw it, I was irritated by it. I was like, it's so dopey. But it's not dopey when you consider the female Shaolin monks who are going to break gender barriers in Nepal. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, that cartoon doesn't seem quite so retarded anymore. It doesn't seem quite so insane and irritating. You start thinking, hey, I kind of like that song, you know? And as things get crazier and crazier, if they do decide, like my current theory is, they're going to crash the economy to make Americans beg to remove the debt limit forever. So there will literally be no limit to the debt the federal government can put you under, no limit to the debt slavery, no end to it, no bottom to it. If that's what they're looking to do, then they're going to do it, you know, and what that's the effect that's going to have, the ripple effect that's going to have, obviously, throughout America is going to be pretty severe, because things are already really fucking really ugly. But with that, we're coming up on 50 minutes, and I have to ask the question of the evening, of course. Have you smashed up the like button yet? I have 2 viewers. I had 3, 4. They were jumping in and out. That's probably Norvin and the pedo. But you need to you need to smash up the like button before you leave. Even if you don't like the show, you can lie to me. I give you permission to lie to me. Just smash up the like button. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. So with that, Virgil Dog Purple Heart and everybody else that has jumped in and out, and everyone that's going to watch this in the coming week, thanks for stopping by, and I'll talk to you guys next week.